Hi, my name is Adnan Hasbi, and welcome to another episode of the Funny Finance Guy. So, as the title of this episode suggests, today we're going to talk a little bit about, the political landscape and how the political landscape helped impacted the market or the KLCI. So, in today's episode, I'm going to talk about three things which happened. Number one, as we know, there was an announcement from a relatively senior politician which stated that he had a majority of support and he wanted to see, the king with regards to the whole thing. And many people speculated that they might have a change in the government. So that's the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened this week is that the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister, gave an announcement of another stimulus package, whereby the biggest impact or the biggest beneficiary for this stimulus package will be the M40 and also the P40, whereby they will get, some bantuan prihatin, which will enable them to actually increase their disposable income, which we're going to talk about the impact a bit later. And the final thing that's happening right now in the market or politically is the ramping up of the by-elections over in Sabah. Okay, so right now I already discussed about the three things that's happening. Let us now discuss the impact and how it will impact stock market and eventually impacts your investment. So the first thing that happened is that this week, I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday, the Twitter space got crazy and it was a lot of news. And all of a sudden, I actually looked at the Twitter space and lo and behold, there was news about how a relatively senior politician in the Malaysian landscape actually got a sizable amount of support. And many have speculated that this would see another change in government. And if you guys were invested in the market, I'm sure you would see that the KLCI suddenly just kind of dropped. So, and I think it's relatively fair to maybe try to put a narrative on why this happened. And this is my 2 cents on this. I remember when Malaysia or Malaysia Baru happened. What happened was there was a lot of new faces and there was a lot of hope and there was a lot of hype and there were and with a lot of new faces, what will eventually happen is that there will be a lot of new ideas. And a couple of new ideas which was introduced during this Malaysia Baru was that they wanted to make sure that certain things were cut in cost. So if you look at the MRT project, the MRT project actually costed the previous administration quite a fair bit. And during the previous administration quite a fair bit. So during the previous government, what they wanted to do was they wanted to cut costs in a lot of things. You would see a couple of things. Number one, with the cut of the MRT project cost, what will happen is that if one is a contractor, what will happen is the expected profit will drop. And when expected profits will drop, what will also happen is that their value would also drop. So what happened was there was a major sell-off amongst a lot of construction players when the previous government or when Malaysia Baru when the Malaysia Baru actually was implemented. That's the first thing. And the second thing, if you notice when you notice telco counters, when the previous government announced that they would give or cut internet or cut the prices of internet and they will give double the speeds. What eventually happened is that a lot of telco companies also had a drop in their stock price. So I guess to put this in very simplistic terms, what happened was that us as Rakyat, we enjoyed the benefits of this idea and the implementation of these ideas. Having said that, however, it's not a zero-sum game, whereby when there is a winner, there also has to be a loser. There's no such thing as a free lunch. So the money or the expense, so who bore the expense was the corporate Malaysia, whereby MRT builders and also telco builders or the telco providers recorded some form of losses. And when that happened, there was a major sell down for the KLCI. So when Malaysia Baru happened, we saw a lot of changes and a lot of new ideas, which was great. But having said that, what happened was someone had to bear the bill. And the people that bear the bill were corporate Malaysia. And what happened was when they had to pay the expenses, eventually there was a sell down in their stock, and we could see that in the KLCI. So why am I telling this story right now? Right now, with the change or the news of a change in government, that will send, I guess, shockwaves amongst investors. When we expect, when we expect change, there's also going to be new faces, and when there's going to be new faces, there's going to be new ideas. And when new ideas is implemented in corporate Malaysia, what will happen is that certain companies would profit and certain companies will also lose. So what investors can do for the short term is to sell all of their, their holdings within the KLCI. And I guess that's one of the reasons why we saw a relatively, a sell down in the KLCI during the talks of the change in government. So that's the first thing. The second thing which I said was that in my previous episodes, I remember talking about, staying away from the markets for the time being, with the reason being it's going to be very volatile. And I guess to my surprise, the market actually was very volatile. But what happened was I did not even factor in the Sabah by-election and also the the change or the news of a change in government. So right now there is just so much of uncertainty, and the uncertainty is something I have not even factored in. And right now, with all of these things coming to fruition, I think the market is going to be even more bumpier. And you can look at my previous episodes. I've always been talking about this. Market will be bumpy, market will be bumpy, market will be bumpy. And lo and behold, that happened. So right now, with the Sabah by-election, what are the impacts on the market? For this, I want to draw us back to the previous episodes which I made, which was we could see a spike in the number of COVID cases, especially in Sabah. Imagine right now the whole government machinery and also all the political machineries going up to Sabah. And imagine going to a place where there is a spike in, the COVID cases. And imagine congested rooms. Although I think many of people may wear protective gears, but after maybe 4-5 hours of politicking and also being on the ground and whatnot, I'm sure there will be times people will have to open their mask, go for a drink of water. There's going to be, in short, it's very hard to actually to isolate cases when people are going to where there was a spike in COVID cases. And I wouldn't know what's going to happen in the future, but if there's going to be by-elections and there's going to be a ramp up and if we could see a ramp up in activities and we can see a ramp up in the number of people being in Sabah, I would say that there's going to be a high probability that there's going to be increasing clusters. I really hope I am wrong in what I'm saying. But the probability, if you go to a place where there's, a spike in number of cases, and if you bring people, and if you multiply that with more and more people and more activity, I think that the chances for another, COVID or cases to spike up over here in Malaysia would increase. And when that happens, guys, what's going to happen is it's going to be fear. And when there's fear in the market, as you guys already know, there's going to be a sell down. And that really sucks up. I guess, and then the third thing, I guess, is the Prime Minister announced that there's going to be another stimulus package, which is great news, I think, especially amongst the B40 and also the M40. But this is more focused towards the B40, whereby the government will have to borrow. And as we know that the government debt ceiling, there's talk about how the government actually trying to increase the number of borrowings or increase their debt so as to enable to restart the whole economy. And amongst where the money is being flowed is to the B40. So I guess the impact from this is that the B40, if they were to get the money, the propensity to spend is very high, especially for this group. And we will see, I guess, spending within an economy, which is a great thing. But having said that, I just want to just point out that with regards to the economic packages or the budget, most times if you borrow and if you give money and the person spends the money, we will see a little bit of a multiplier effect. But I think where people borrow, invest in new technologies, invest in bringing new factories over in Malaysia, that's where we can see a multiplier effect in the Malaysian economy. So this stimulus package, while I think is great to actually jumpstart the whole, help to jumpstart the economy, I only think that it's going to be a sudden, I guess you can see a sudden euphoria or a sudden benefit which will happen within the market. But in the long term, it does not fix our long-term problem, which is we need to actually invest in our country. We need to invest in new schools. We need to invest in new technologies. We need to invest in the way we think. I think that's the only way we can actually fight and bring, I guess, value to the country. And when we bring value to the country, that will also bring value translated in the value to our investments in the stocks we invest in. So I guess the long and short of this episode is that I think it's going to be relatively bumpy moving forward, and I've already reiterated that message over and over again. But I just wanted to just come out, talk to you guys. It's been a week already, so and I just want to tell you guys my view about what's happening right now. And when we can see that when there's a change in government, I already explained to you why there was a sell down before. While it's great that Malaysia Baru actually helped cut expenses, but corporate Malaysia actually bear the brunt of the cut of the reduce in corporate earnings. And if you were an investor back then, what will happen is that you will probably lose in certain holdings or your investments back then. So right now, with the, I guess, thought of someone new coming in, there might be new ideas which may be injected and which may be implemented in the market. And when new ideas be implemented in the market, what's going to happen is there's going to be winners and losers. So there's going to be a new set of players that's going to benefit and not benefit. And I think to be relatively prudent, that's one of the reasons why many people sold, it spooked the market, or many people sold down some of their stakes in the stock market. So if there is political uncertainty, guys, just beware. And I want to tell you guys this, okay? Next is, I just talked about the Sabah by-election, and the long-term implication is if there's more people over in a place where there's outbreaks and where there's COVID outbreaks, or the number of cases, outbreaks over there, more activities, more intermingling, what's going to happen is the probability for another breakout cluster is going to be very high. And as we know, political missionaries, they will always bring their people from Semenanjung and from all over Malaysia just to go to be focused in one area. Unfortunately for, I guess, many of us, it's where the breakout for a lot of cases is happening right now. So I just want to tell you guys, be very careful. You know that it's going to be relatively bumpy. The third thing is like looking at the stimulus package, where while I think is a great thing, but I think the stimulus package is going to benefit only in short spurts. is not changing the whole structural way we do, or the structural way we do business and the way our country competes with the world. I think that for a structural change and a long-term sustainable change, the government needs to come up with really good ideas on how to compete in this new technological era. And so those are my thoughts with regards to this. And I love to thank you guys to coming on the live episodes. I noticed there's 4 people. There's 2 thumbs up to you guys. And most importantly, guys, be very careful. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm looking at other I guess YouTubers. A lot of them, they are. I feel like a lot of people have their blinkers right now. It says, okay, if the stock market drops, we should just average down. I think when looking at things, I feel that a lot of us are struggling on a day-to-day basis just to make ends meet. And I don't think it's fair for me to tell you guys to stay invested or double down on a particular stock when I know that the number of cases or COVID cases may increase, and the political instability is even increasing. Back then, when I was saying, please be cautious at the market, that was 4 or 5 months ago, I remembered. And if you were to heed my advice, or if you were to, I guess, implement some of the things I told you, guys, you won't have to go through the emotional ups and downs the market presents. But I would like to say this, and I would like to end this episode by just saying this, right? As you guys can see, I've been around for quite some time. But while recording this episode, I know I'm relatively pessimistic sometimes, and I do apologize for this. And I have very strong opinion on things, and I also do apologize for this. I wish I can, share with you sunshine and rainbow stories, but the data speaks. And I only use data to tell you guys this information, and this is how I interpret this data. But what I'd like to say before I end is that every time when there is sun, there's also going to be darkness. And when there's darkness, there's going to be sun. And that's the way the world works. There's always cycles. And I'm sure even in our life, we will have really happy days, really phenomenal, great days, and we will have not so good days. And I think that's where, I guess, the life works in cycles, So right now, with the stock market being, I guess, dark and gloomy, and things don't look like it's so positive, rest be assured, in a couple of months or in a couple of years, we're going to see sun again, and it's going to be great again. And what I want to say is that we always have to buy low and sell high. Okay, if you guys are worried, and rightfully so, be worried. But I want to say this. I want to say that if you guys have any investments right now, invest in great companies. Invest in companies which have strong fundamentals. That way, it can ride the nights and the mornings and the mornings and the nights.